And it was also before he urged his psycho friends at the Lad Society to donate to Sellner as well, and it has an entire page raging against NGO ships, a manufactured controversy loaded with just plain lies that...
Like, I don't know about y'all. At this point, when Vadim showed me some of these first cuts, I was just like, what? What? Wait, what upon what? Like, it's so much worse. It's like, I thought it was already really bad, and there was already enough stuff to go on, but it just gets worse and worse and worse. Like, you were one of, if not the largest and most prominent chief propagandist for this organization. Now, I'm going to say a couple things, because this is a combination of a very long week, month, I should say. Really? Yeah. What am I saying? You know what? I'll start over. This month, at the start of the month, October, I said there was 3 very big Lawrence Southern documentaries coming out. I'm sure a lot of people were extremely upset about Lawrence Southern appearing on the Twitch streaming platform and then using it, including myself. I'm not going to absolve myself as someone who didn't contribute towards this, using a bunch of other streamers to propagate a series of lies online. The big ones, of course, being her involvement with the Christchurch shooting, which was something I directly accused her of. The second one was about the graves of Indigenous children in Canada. The third one being, of course, her involvement with Identity Europa and the boat. And Lonerbox did a incredible documentary on that. He ended up doing a follow-up as well as a debate, which was very good. And then Vadim had told me about this project for a while. And that he had, like, if you haven't seen a Vadim video before, this is pretty, like, if this is your first experience with a Vadim video, he goes deep. Like, deeper, I think, than most other video essayists, documentarians who, in this realm, anyway, in, like, the online alt-right, radicalization, counterculture side of the internet. I haven't seen anything like it. Like, there are times when I'm genuinely flabbergasted at how he finds some of these videos. If you have ever been a part of the alt-right and been online making videos and you then have deleted those videos to try and hide evidence or anything like that, look out, because Vadim somehow will know a BitChute link or another link. Like, it just goes so deep. But I will say this, of all the lies Lawrence Southern has been spreading, one of the, I guess, most serious ones involves the Christchurch shooting. So, a little content warning, obviously. There are going to be topics related to this video that deal with the worst parts of humanity. We're going to be talking about Nazis, and the video is just demonetized there. We're going to be talking about the alt-right, the alt-light. We're going to be talking about fascism. We're going to be talking about conspiracy theories involving very racist ideas, stuff of that nature. And it is important to talk about these things, though. And it's also important because, and this is going to be my last point, because I know everyone is like, shut the fuck up and hit play already. My last point on this is that I actually have nothing against people changing. I'm for it. I'm for people changing. And this is going to be brought up later when we start talking about hypocrisy and the way people act. But to me, being 100% consistent all the time, as in some kind of like, I do not ever, like, go askew from my moral compass. It is the same thing 24/7, 7 days a week. I am always consistent, is way less important to me than someone who's willing to take in new information and then change and then try and repair the damage they've done. And if that is going to be this arc that Lawrence Southern is trying to go on or is going to attempt to go on, okay, I would be here for that, as weird as that sounds. I would actually be, because I think it would be a better benefit to society as a whole to not have someone who is incredibly alt-righty either lie about their past or keep propagating a whole bunch of super yikesy shit like genocide denial. That I think would be a net gain to society. So in the case of Lawrence Southern, it's been quite the opposite. There's no acknowledgement of what she's done. In fact, she's been lying about it, lying to a lot of very big content creators on this platform, as you will now see as documented in here. And, well, I guess this is going to be the answer to the lies. And also, before I even start, I wanted to go on another 10-minute diatribe and talk to you about something else. No. I want you all to share Vadim's link. Vadim puts so much work into these videos and will sometimes have to go a full month and a half before he can upload because of the amount of research necessary. If you have $1 to spare, $1, I would recommend please supporting him on Patreon. I am a proud Patreon supporter of Vadim. My money has financed this project, and I'm very proud of that. But also, he's at 99,000.4. He has been so close to 100K for like 6 years. He's such an old school OG YouTuber, has been debunking the right for so long. So please, everybody, go to Vadim's channel. Go give him a thumbs up. Go give him a like. Go give him a comment. Everyone buckled in. I don't want any of you to have to leave for whatever reason. Please grab your popcorns now, or whatever else, maybe a privation or two, you know, if you're so inclined. Enjoy being intoxicated or completely sober. It does not matter. You'll have a wild and amazing time.
Hey guys, it's HeyIt'sVadim, and if this is your first time on the channel, well, we like to have a little fun here. Like, for instance, take a look at this guy. What's he doing there? Oh, he's thirsty. He's having a little drink. Oh, look, this little fella's a birthday boy. He's enjoying some cake. Wish him a happy birthday. And... oh no. Oh, man, sorry. I totally forgot what this video was about. I guess this is in order. Content warning, discussions of pretty much the worst things ever, as well as super gross garbage people from the rock bottom of the humanity toilet. So glasses off this time, because I think it's just that kind of video. Now, for those who don't know, this is Lauren Southern. She's a conservative YouTuber, author, and I guess former alt-right figure and provocateur. And I think that stretches back a little further than most people realize. Oh boy! Of course, who could forget her brief career lip-syncing bad Evanescence ripoff songs?
Feeling a strong 0 to a light 1.
Anyhow, just so we're all up to speed, in 2017, Lauren posted a now-deleted video with this title, discussing French author Renault Camus' book and theory of the same name that describes the highly fictional threat to European culture, aka white people, of being demographically replaced by immigrants of African and Islamic descent, aka black and brown people, which you can see showcased right here in this totally batshit animation. Oh no, look at all those black Argentinians. That's not what they look like. They look like this. Oh, but they're coming to get us white people anyhow. Ah! Incidentally, that animation that was very much a staple of bonkers white videos at the time. Yeah, Lauren decided to use it in the thumbnail of her video. I'm about to get ethnically replaced on this iceberg over here.
Now, again, I'm not going to try and pause this too much, but I still cannot believe, because I hadn't actually even seen the animation. That is ridiculous. This is the thumbnail.
Now look, we won't be critiquing that baseless, brainless, and very paranoid conspiracy theory. But if you'd like to hear one, and I must emphasize, if you find any replacement claims that you'll hear in this video remotely convincing, well, then check out Sean's video on the topic. It's a banger and a classic. So approximately a year after this cursed video with the cursed thumbnails release, a 28-year-old gunman broadcasted live one of the most heinous and tragic mass shootings in world history, which unfolded in 2 mosques in Christchurch, New Zealand. And right before doing so, he released this manifesto, which of course bears the same name as this video. And so that brings us to Part 1. Reprehensible accusations that destroy political discourse. So naturally, all that sparked countless claims about Southern and her level of culpability regarding this event, which Lauren believes to be
a reprehensible accusation that has destroyed political discourse.
Wow! I didn't realize one set of claims could possess that level of destructive power. Anyhow, let's hear what Lauren has to say, and we're going to start with a claim that, if true, would definitely be her strongest argument of all. And that's in relation to the accusation that
I popularized it, I made it huge, and therefore he likely learned it from me and got radicalized by this.
To which she then says,
Anyone who has taken 2 minutes to read the commission report would know this claim is impossible. I published my video in July 2017. The official report clearly shows the shooter had made up his mind to commit a terror attack in January of 2017.
all right, so that is a full 6 months before her video debuted. And if that claim is accurate, well, then that would most certainly be a silver bullet for her now, wouldn't it? Yeah, of course it would. So first, let's take a look at the July 4th archive of her video, and okay, yeah, she's correct there. It came out on July 4th. That's fine, because next we're going to take a very close look at the New Zealand Crime Commission's report and see what they really have to say about all of this. So, oh, okay. She's right. She's right again. Fuck! Okay, I just want to say thank you to all my patrons and good night!
Fucking unreal, eh? I told y'all. I mean, it's short but sweet, but like it really gets to the core of the issue. And that's like, I mean, it's hard to find some of the clips that Vadim does, and he went all in. It really was, I'd say, one of the most thorough takedowns I've ever seen of Lauren Southern. And like, if you can do it in 3 minutes, good on you, you know? Fantastic. Please go subscribe to Vadim's channel, give it a check out. I think we'll move on to the crypto story, because this one is juicy. I don't know if you've heard, but apparently people are selling cryptos in the form of tokens that you can buy online. Yes, that's right. You can buy them online, and perhaps it's going on too long. I just wanted to double down because I'm proud of Vadim, okay? I'm proud of it, and I'm glad that he doubled down.
Oh, hey, sorry guys, it's Vadim again, and you know what? It turns out that's not all there is to the story. Yeah, but before I explain, first let me say that we are now trying to establish, in regards to just this alone, whether or not Lauren is correct when she says,
This claim is impossible.
Just that right there. Got it? Good. So this is probably going to be news to...
Is it not trolling properly, even higher tier trolling? Yes, because essentially I'm trolling myself.
Just about everyone who is not Lauren Southern. But yeah, this right here is pretty far from the first time that she discussed the Great Replacement. For instance, on June 22nd of 2016, her employer at the time, Rebel Media, who incidentally the shooter, I'll be referring to him as from here on in, made a donation to. More on that later. But yeah, they published a video titled, "We Want to Stop What We Call the Great Replacement." It's an interview with Martin Sellner, leader of the Austrian branch of the identitarian movement, Generation Identity.
We are on the brink of being replaced by immigrants.
It just so happens that gave very generously to Sellner, so let's put a big pin on him. In fact, let's put 56. Because he's going to be very important later. Now, This video and a longer version of the same interview were both deleted on the heels of Christchurch. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that the Great Replacement was probably mentioned at least once inside the interview about stopping the Great Replacement. Just a hunch. But other than that, unfortunately, we can't really speculate much on its content. But we don't need to, because you know what? It turns out that there is yet another video released in 2016, which is currently fully viewable on the Rebel News channel.
Is Europe doomed?
That right there is its suitably apocalyptic title, and in it we're informed of
The top reasons why Europe is screwed.
So among the reasons for its aforementioned screwing are immigration and Islam, yeah, she squeezes that one in twice, birth rates, and these all build on top of one another to make a case for the final reason why this is happening, the Great Replacement. That's right, I'm telling you that Lauren has had yet another Great Replacement video out there for years with over 360,000 views, mind you. I guess it just hasn't been unearthed until now because it was buried under the mountains of toxic dumpster fire hell content that is the Rebel Media YouTube library. Hey, watch it yourself. You'll see it's basically the same video, just jumbled around and a few mostly superficial differences, but it's a great replacement video. So between this and this, we can now definitely say that Lauren's claim that this is impossible is indeed wrong.
I love to be proven wrong.
Or a lie.
Well, you're really in luck today then, Lauren. But first we're going to establish some of the similarities between your two horrible videos. Like for instance, here is the opening graphic to the Great Replacement portion of the first video juxtaposed with Lauren's explanation of the theory in the second.
The Great Replacement.
Isn't this old news though, or is this a new vid? This is a brand new video, and no, it's new news in the sense that Lauren Southern, on part of her like, hey, by the way, I've changed tour, has been saying I could not possibly have any influence upon the Christchurch shooter because if you look at the timelines, it doesn't sync up. My Great Replacement video came out on this date, and based on that, he made up his mind, according to the official commission, on this date. But that wasn't Lauren Southern's only Great Replacement video. In fact, it was one of many Great Replacement videos, as Vadim is now showing. And this is going to be the similarities between the one that she had on the Rebel and the actual Great Replacement video that she's made previously.
Is a very simple concept. You have one people, and in the space of a single generation, you have a different people.
Countless similar themes and general statements run throughout it.
With the disparities in birth rates, the non-Muslim population will continue to decline as the Muslim population multiplies in France well above the replacement rate. So Muslims have nearly double the birth rates of non-Muslims. It's only a matter of time before Islam becomes the prominent religion in Europe. And places like Molenbeek, Markslow, and the growing enclaves all over Europe. And that has become quite apparent in Europe as you see Islamists segregating themselves into their own enclaves. So simply based on these statistics alone and the current trajectory they are on, Camus' theory regarding France looks fairly sound. But the trajectory is all headed in the same direction until something changes.
There's talk of all of this, and probably a lot more that I didn't even catch. Even both her conclusions and explanations as to why this is supposedly happening are virtually the same.
Western ethno-masochism. Basically, white people hate themselves. Unfortunately, many of the people living in Western Europe hate themselves. Europeans actively invite the destruction of their tradition. They want their nation's culture and identity to die. And surprise, surprise, it's working.
Perhaps you notice a more urgent, apocalyptic, almost crisis-like tone there. Well, surprise, surprise, that's going to become important later. So put about 186 pins in that, because we're coming back to it. And since we're already here, before we move on, let's hit a few things regarding Camus that Lauren Southern either lied about or did unforgivable horseshit research on. But probably lied.
That's like,
I found Camus. It said he was a left-wing philosopher, and I thought he would be good to quote. There I go, my intellectual quote for the video.
I thought he was one of you guys.
Oh.
Okay, so the evidence you get for this mistake is a wiki article from 2017. Your screenshot cuts off all relevant information. You say he was Yale published and an LGBT rights campaigner. I guess Yale and gay equals leftist for you? Okay, not that it matters, but he was published just once by Yale in 1988.
No, I haven't met him in
no
person.
less. You neglect to mention that he supported Marine Le Pen in 2012.
Oh,
yeah,
lefty
super
shit.
leftist there.
Yeah.
Oh, and you left out the part about him getting convicted for inciting racial hatred. Okay, I'm getting a little nitpicky here, but for very good reason. Lauren, Renault Camus actually wrote a blog post about you, and he is pretty ticked, by the way, at how you talk about him. He is.
By the way, did anyone know this? I didn't know this until Vadim showed it to me. He was like, did you know Camus actually wrote about Lauren Southern? I was like, wait, what? Actually? Holy fuck.
Insists that he was only in a socialist group for just 2 or 3 years, 50 years ago, that he was never in the least a LGBT militant. His words, not mine. And he kind of really goes off about how you incriminated him to take the blame off yourself and complain that you're getting attacked when he isn't. And he's just like, nope. Anyhow, he seems pretty mad about it all, but I see you two still follow each other on Twitter. So just hit your boy Renault Camus up in DMs, and I'm sure you can smooth things out.
So just a little context here. Vadim sends me the Camus letter, and I was blown away. I was like, can I talk about this? He's like, can we wait till the video comes out? Because like not a lot of people know. And I was like, okay, fine. And then he was like, hey, can you read the original one? Because it's in French, and I know you speak French, and tell me, does it say the things that these translations say it does? And I was like, yeah, yeah, it does. Oh no, that's really bad.
Over. Next, you say that probably learned about this
The exact same way I did, from the mainstream media.
And you also claim that it was this article that inspired this video.
The reason I made that video was I read this article in The Guardian called The Last Days of a White World.
Oh my god, I'm so good. No!
Now, you do mention the article here. However, not only is it nowhere to be seen in your first replacement video with the duck lips thumbnail, but we now know that 6 months before that, you knew perfectly well what it was, and were even talking with Martin Sellner about how to stop it. So the whole I learned it through the media thing, yeah, kind of a hard sell, kind of sounds like another huge lie. I think Sean said it better than I ever could.
Hello. Please don't take anything Lauren Southern said seriously. She's a bull***er.
Yes, she is a truly accomplished bull***er. She does it with important things, she does it with completely inconsequential things. I mean, listen to this bullshit right here.
Something that most people probably wouldn't realize. When I did that video coming back, once again, probably something none of you guys would notice, I lost 200,000 followers on YouTube. Like that. Just saying I'm going to consider other perspectives.
Oh no, they couldn't take the perspectives. Lauren, I Wayback Machine that, and you're right, that is indeed something
that most people probably wouldn't realize.
Yeah, because you lost 14,000 subscribers max. Here you are on June 4th, 2020 with 685,000 subs. This is the video you released right before the one that you're talking about here, and 4 months after that's up, you had 671,000 subs. Only off by 186,000. I think the really amazing thing about that is that you just really wanted to paint this picture that you are such a straight shooting truth teller now that 200,000 of your former subscribers, they just couldn't handle it.
Also, I should add to that seems to be a pattern that has happened to people who have actually tried to go through changes. Like if you look at, that sounds like a very weird way of wording this, but Hunter Avalon, for example, when Hunter Avalon came out and then suddenly made statements, hey, by the way, I'm going to be changing a lot of my political ideology on this channel. I was incredibly transphobic. I'm going to be taking down a lot of my old videos. Hunter Avalon did experience that massive plummet that you can visibly see. Or Dusty Smith, whose channel has been like, in freeze frame at like 234,000 for like, years now. Like that does happen, especially if you start turning videos off, your algorithm gets punished, all that kind of stuff. But that wasn't the case with Lauren Southern. Lauren Southern didn't go from being like alt-right to centrist and all of a sudden like really had to take a lot of punishment from it. She went from alt-right to way better at branding and way better at making everything a little bit more masked so that I can still be, palatable, because her contemporaries, such as Stefan Molyneux, no longer exist on YouTube for a reason. Like, she was just smarter than a lot of the other people that were surrounding her at the time.
They just couldn't handle all those perspectives and the truth. But you were lying about it. Hello, 911. I'd like to request an ambulance. I'm about to overdose on irony.
Can you hold?
Yes, I'll hold. Part 2. Claims that make you go. He simply used the theory as a catchy title, Southern later said. It was not his inspiration, nor did it cause the deaths of 51 innocent people. Lauren, he didn't name it Snakes on a Plane. If he did, then maybe he'd be onto something with this whole catchy title thing. But in order to make this video, I did something that I never wanted to do. Yeah, someone who has
taken 2 minutes to read
the Manifesto here, top to bottom, several times. I highly do not recommend it. And the opening words are, it's the
birth rates.
It's the
birth rates.
And it's the
birth rates.
The term replace or replacement is mentioned 12 times in the opening 2 pages alone, 44 times altogether, invasion, invader, and invaders 62 times, diversity 28 times, and the attack was anti-ethnic replacement and anti-cultural replacement in origin 1 time. The report recognizes that the attack resulted in great part due to his underlying political views, particularly his ethno-nationalist views, and his belief in this theory. To say that it was no more the cause than PewDiePie, Candace Owens, or environmentalism, I don't even have a joke for that. That's just f***ing stupid. Environmentalism is discussed on all of 1 page. It's a footnote. Now, I'm redacting most of this, but you can see that he explicitly ties it to matters of identity and immigration in every paragraph. Even on this 1 page, it's obvious that his overarching concern is for this delusional dumb fuck theory. There's an entire section in the report that is devoted to radicalization that discusses ethno-nationalism and the theory that you claim had as much influence on him as PewDiePie, how it's closely linked to ethno-nationalists, aka identitarians, and how his political thinking was primarily ethno-nationalist in nature. Why is all that in there if it wasn't his primary cause or just a catchy title? Oh, and finally, you know that part where you show the quote about when made up his mind? Well, check this out. Neat trick. You just go down one line and, oh my goodness, they are satisfied he came to New Zealand with a fully developed ideology based on his adoption of this totally dumbass theory.
Oh my god!
By the way, that's a classic Lauren Southern thing. She'll show you like a quote, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this actually comes from a study. So we've got this actual quote from a study, and I'll put it up right here. And more often than not, if you're like, did you read one line or two lines past the quote you just put up? Because it directly refutes what you just said.
Next claims. Never watched any of my content. And
I am not named in the commission report once.
okay, so this right here, you say it a lot. You said it in a false accusation of slander where you threaten legal action, no less. But how could you possibly know that? You can't. The report states that he took a number of steps to minimize his digital footprint, including removing his hard drive. They also have no doubt that the individual's internet activity was greater than they could reconstruct. As for where they believe he was radicalized the most, contrary to the initial belief it was Pol and 8chan, YouTube for him was a far more significant source of information and inspiration. The report found that his use of it was far more substantial. He spent a good deal of time accessing extreme far-right content on YouTube. Now, Lauren, you may dispute that your videos fit that description, but the views that the report describes as qualifying as such are definitely to be found in loads of your videos, especially the videos that you deleted. More on that later. And finally, in regards to YouTube, his exposure to such content may have contributed to his actions. Indeed, it's plausible to conclude that they did. Now, in terms of creators he consumed, there just isn't any sentence in the report to the effect of X person inspired him or motivated him greatly or he watched channel X. They just didn't bother to document that sort of thing. So this is an unknowable. And as for this, well, Candace Owens was mentioned in his manifesto. Yes, he was memeing, but then again, she did say that incredibly stupid thing about Hitler, and she wasn't named. Richard Spencer received a donation, and he goes unnamed. They don't even bother to say.
Richard Spencer is not a white supremacist. He is a white nationalist. He doesn't believe in whites being superior.
The truth is, nearly all those cited by name fall into one of these categories, along with the individuals and organizations he donated to, a few of whom I'm pretty sure you might be acquainted with. So yeah, Lauren, your name wasn't mentioned, but to anyone who knows how the information in this report was curated, this just doesn't do the work that you want it to. Hello?
I'm back.
Yeah, sorry, false alarm. Although I am having a little bit of trouble figuring out a way to get into part 3.
Why don't you just do it explode like you do?
Oh. Part 3. Paying it backward.
A journalist at the New York Times accusing me of receiving donations from the shooter to my media company. The only issue with this accusation is that it never happened. The donation went to Rebel News, which I do not own and am no longer associated with, and it wasn't even actually to Rebel News, it was to a legal fundraiser they simply ran the financial processor for.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there, but stick with me, because this is where it gets good. Or, if you happen to be Lauren Southern, increasingly horrible. So first off, this one, yes, technically incorrect tweet did result in Mashable and the Daily Dot getting the story wrong. They never corrected. That is journalism. I'll give her that. But by cherry-picking this one aspect of the story, she makes it seem as though it was the source. And so all this misinformation just spread across the globe like a virus. The message is you just can't trust what you read about me. It's just classic well poisoning. Meanwhile, there's plenty of publications that reported it perfectly accurately. So there's that. Next, the money going to the Legal Defense Fund, well, it's not mentioned in the report. Literally, the only source that you can find for this is Rebel News itself, which is kind of tantamount to taking InfoWars at their word. But let's give this one to Lauren. Okay, so he donated to a legal defense fund. Rebel doesn't specify which. Could that possibly be because the overwhelming majority of legal fundraisers that they promote are for lawsuits that the Rebel media itself are involved in? I mean, they've sued or are currently suing Justin Trudeau, a Chinese lobbyist, vaccine passports, random people who have criticized them on Twitter, Canadian ministers who blocked them on Twitter, PayPal, the state of Victoria, the cancel culture mob, Make Canada Great Again hats, tons of news outlets and websites, Justin Trudeau, again, and Jessica Yaniv, who they repeatedly insist on dead naming because, of course. But the point is, there's way more. That was a very short list. The vast majority of their legal funds are for themselves, and I hope that saying that doesn't get me sued. Damn it! Next, the most common place to discover a Rebel Media fundraiser would be on their website, YouTube, or social media. That's pretty much how you find them, so I think that points to being an avid viewer. And why might that be?
The ultimate goal of the East is to convert it. Convert or die.
Our nations are being invaded by millions of Muslim men of fighting age.
Goldie.
This is a holy war.
Europe becoming Islamified in both culture and law could be a very real future.
In these houses are enemy combatants who want to kill you, maim you, and destroy you.
Multiculturalism as an ideology has failed.
Allah Akbar! They want to destroy our way of life.
Okay, you get the point, and I apologize for subjecting you to that garbage that I imagine that rather enjoyed. It's just extremely hard to believe that him donating to that channel was some kind of fluke, especially since in his manifesto, he stressed the importance of donating to those who helped his cause, and every other single person or organization we know of.
So I'm just going to pause it here so you can take this in just a little bit. Number one, generation identity. Now, if you're not familiar with generation identity, excuse me, you will be. That's coming up about halfway through the video. But Mike Enoch, Rebel Media, Smash TM, Generation Europe, another branch of Generation Identity, Generation Europe, Back to Right, Martin Sellner, Daily Stormer, Generation Identity. If you're not familiar with the Daily Stormer, that's the Nazi blog. That's the Nazi blog on the internet. Oh, and Stefan Molyneux and Richard Spencer for individuals.
That he gave to does or did just that. I'm going to show you guys these two graphics again because they're pretty important, and just I can't emphasize it enough. I really can't. So why would this one fundraiser, led by Canada's #1 source of alarmist, xenophobic, Islamophobic cringe, be an exception? But now let's take a look at a couple of other donations that Lauren chose not to mention here. His first donation was made to far-right extremist and skull-size measuring egg enthusiast Stefan Molyneux. Let's take a quick look at his oeuvre and see if we can figure out why.
You know, I've spoken against white nationalism.
I've always been skeptical of the ideas of white nationalism.
But I am an empiricist.
He's known for saying things like,
America within a generation will be South Africa.
And then staring into the camera way too long, like he wants to murder it. And of course, crying tears of joy in Poland because he...
By the way, if you haven't seen this video, it's the funniest thing. Like, he actually is at a far-right rally and then just bursts into tears. Like, randomly, it's just like, I've never felt so proud of my identity, so proud to be white.
Never seen so many white people in one place before. Anyhow, Lauren was a frequent guest on his channel.
They just praise and worship multiculturalism as if it's their new god. And no amount of death, it seems, can stop them from worshiping that god of multiculturalism.
Since she stresses this as an important date, we should note that she made at least 4 appearances in 2016 alone, 2 wearing merchandise from her Deus Vault shop. More on that later. They also toured together in both New Zealand and Australia, the country of origin for... by the way. And incidentally, while on tour, Lauren's security detail were the Lad Society, a just super crazy hardcore neo-Nazi group co-headed by, this guy. I should probably also mention that the New Zealand report discusses how this guy, Thomas Sewell, the head of Lauren's security detail, attempted to recruit but was turned down as his mission was well underway at this point. However, he did donate to them as well. And finally, in a closed yet infiltrated Telegram group, once again, this guy claimed that when he talked to Lauren, she was 100% red-pilled on race, Jews, and all this other stuff right here. Now that info comes courtesy of Mr. Tom Tanuki.
And if you don't know about Tom Tanuki is the person who Lauren Southern wrote an entire children's book about. No joke, go watch his video on the subject. It's hilarious, just as hilarious as it sounds.
So, thanks, Tom. Now, he's a crazy Nazi, and they do tend to lie a lot, but then again, so does Lauren? Look, it was a closed Telegram group, so make of it what you will. But lastly, we have the organization that he donated to the most, Generation Identity. Seen here at their weird summer camps where they don't look like some kind of Hitler youth cult at all. And of course the figurehead of that group, whom he gave his single most generous donation to by far, Martin Sellner.
We were growing up under the shadow of the Great Replacement.
Now, Lauren made at least 10 videos with and/or about these two, 9 of which are currently deleted, but I have them all. Yay, me. Collectively, they brought in at least 2,696,000 views in total. Yes, that figure is verifiable, and we're not even including numerous appearances they made together elsewhere. Like, for instance, a certain deleted interview on Rebel Media about stopping this. So let's review, and then I'll leave you with one question that you can answer yourself. Knowing that spoke passionately about donating to those he thought helped further the project of stopping the paranoid conspiracy that broke his brain, knowing that everyone he gave to did just that, knowing YouTube played a large part in his radicalization, that Lauren was a fixture on Rebel Media, that she also had close ties with the first individual he chose to donate to, that she signal boosted more effectively than anyone on YouTube both the identitarian groups and group leader whom he donated to more than anyone. And knowing that Lauren not just documented and took center stage, but guided the freaking boat.
Get in front, Thomas.
In front of the boat.
Yes, in front of the boat. Go fast, go fast.
In their most notable, notorious, and lucrative publicity stunt ever? Well, what do you think the chances are that didn't watch Lauren Southern's videos? Part.
Do y'all remember when I said all those things to Lauren Southern, and then afterwards there was a big backlash from different corners of the internet that were like, well, Lance, you don't really know what you're talking about. You're way off base here. You know, like her personal involvement with all of this. I mean, she wasn't actually a part of that group, and she didn't really promote them. And I mean, when it comes to the Great Replacement theory, you're actually really off on your timeline. I mean, the video that she produced, look at when it was released and when the official report says that he was actually radicalized. I mean, that and that is her only video on the subject, right? As far as we can see. Unless you were to go to the Rebel News and see all the other videos and the multiple other tweets and videos and other things she's produced over the years, and oh boy.
For let's talk about Martin Sellner, Lauren, and Generation Identity. So Martin Sellner is a self-admitted former Nazi, but in his defense, he does say that there were no other options at the time for a patriot like him, so his hands were tied, cut him a little slack. He claims to have come from humble beginnings.
I grew up in the south of Vienna, like in a middle-class Aryan family.
I'm sorry, what kind of family was that again?
In a middle-class
Aryan family. Martin, I think you just said the quiet part out loud. But look, we've got to be fair here. I mean, Lauren Southern has said herself.
Their whole thing is we want to protect our culture. That is their message. There's nothing racist or white supremacist about it.
Là où il faudrait promettre à tous ces islamistes et à leurs complices une balle entre la tête. Troisième Reich.
Nous sommes la génération de la fracture ethnique, de la faillite totale du vivre ensemble, du métissage imposé.
On zigouille dans la rue.
Oh, I'm sure those are just a few bad apples, even though one of them was a spokesperson for Gen ID France, and there was a self-made promotional clip they released in there. But the truth is, for the most part, Generation Identity and Sellner are savvy when it comes to public perception. As one expert on extremism put it,
they wanted to fend off all accusations of racism. So basically, they turned to culture to not talk about race because they know that the accusation of racism could politically discredit the movement.
So the focus then became identity and culture because optics.
And total side note, if you haven't like watched or studied kind of like the rise of the alt-right and what Richard Spencer was really effective at doing back when Richard Spencer was like relevant, was that they decided they were going to stop doing this whole, hey, if we're out and proud and we're talking about, you know, the Jewish question and the supremacy of the white race and all this kind of stuff publicly, the really big problem from that is that the average public, you know, the normies, they as they would refer to them, they get turned off because it's like, oh, whoa, I know Nazis are bad, all right? Y'all are Nazis? No, I don't want anything to do with this. So they started to rebrand themselves. And instead of talking about, say, we're having a white genocide or a white replacement, you can say that Western culture values are being replaced and that we're losing our Judeo-Christian values and stuff of that nature. And at the end of the day, this is about culture rather than race. And we're trying to preserve our culture and our heritage. Boom. All of a sudden, we're a lot more, let's just say, internet friendly.
Which meshes perfectly with a number of statements that Sellner has made, like this.
I completely understand that in the 1920s people said there's a Jewish question comparable to an Islamic immigration today. The American alt-right and the American right is again dominated by this anti-Semitism, by the Jewish question. Complete misunderstanding of the time, complete strategical and theoretical failure in my opinion.
He gets all that stuff about the Jews back in the 1920s and all, but it was a strategic failure. Not moral or ethical, but strategic. Optics. So now let's bring Lauren back into things. She has at times, I believe, tried to paint the super duper, extremely hard to believe picture that she was just a passive passenger simply documenting their actions. But we know that's not the case. She was an indispensable tool for spreading the group's awareness.
And if you want to help it out, where can people find it? Getting excited about it and hopefully...
I made that sound effect, everybody. There's a little contribution from Lance. I'm the one who made that sound effect. You might recognize it. It's actually Russell Brand. It's from the Memes of Production video where Russell Brand is saying something and then I just distorted the audio to make it for Zoomers, because the Zoomers like distortion. So I was like, you know, I gotta pretend that I know what I'm talking about.
Sending them some funds.
You're already helping us a lot, and I want to thank you very much for spreading.
Worked hard on that
SFX. You helped us really a lot. Thank you to us and all the American donors.
She urged her viewers to
go to their website, donate, or even join your local chapter.
She even hawked their t-shirts.
For those of you who don't know, that shirt that I was wearing was actually Martin's shirt brand. It is a very comfortable shirt. If people do want to find his brand shirts, Martin, what is your website for that?
It's
the extent to which she glorified them is just... Take a look at this clip, for instance.
Generation Identity is a coalition of European youth from across the continent who are taking the future of their people into their own hands. Activists from Generation Identity have launched their second Defend Europe mission in an act of unparalleled organization and planning.
Oh my God, how thirsty is she there? I'm sorry, but she is just all kinds of horny for every single one of these immigrant hunting hipster dorks for staging this photo op that managed to stop a total of 0 immigrants.
What?
And by the way, guys, this is important. The horny, that's very important, because we're looking at the nature of the propaganda she created. Lauren made nearly all these videos well before ever donated to Gen ID, before he gave generously and corresponded with Sellner, and Martin offered to buy him a beer. Yeah, that's the thing that happened. And it was also before he urged his psycho friends at the Lad Society to donate to Sellner as well, and it has an entire page raging against NGO ships, a manufactured controversy loaded with just plain lies that...
Like, I don't know about y'all, at this point when Vadim showed me some of these first cuts, I was just like, what? What? Wait, what upon what? Like, it's so much worse. It's like, I thought it was already really bad and there was already enough stuff to go on, but it just gets worse and worse and worse. Like, you were one of, if not the largest and most prominent chief propagandist for this organization. Lauren Southern, personally.
These three pushed super hard. I mean, it was kind of their thing. I think there's a link there. Anyhow, for more on that, check out Lonerbox's stellar video on the topic.
If you haven't, do it. It's really good video.
So right now, I'd like you all just to close your eyes and imagine what kind of video would one have to produce to make this group seem as courageous, sexy, and brave as possible. Would it by any chance look like this?
About a year or two ago, during the peak of the refugee
They
crisis,
have lost
I
their
found myself
fertility.
wondering, like many,
Fertility.
what the hell is Europe thinking? Why are the people so complacent in this destruction of their identity when they know their people will be replaced with a different culture in the next 100 years? Where are the lovers of Western culture? I kept pondering this until I stumbled upon a video, or rather, a movement that has already begun the revolution.
Cringe.
Okay, yes, that's almost exactly what I'd want, but then ideally I'd like some really bad Limp Bizkit / Skrillex music to kick in or something shit like that. Whoa! Those are some sick Nazi beats. Wait, what about the tiki torches? It's kind of Nazi stuff. We need tiki torches. Oh, we got the tiki torches. Everybody, we got the tiki torches. So yeah, I should have clarified, said something like, imagine how to make Gen identity sexy to the sort of alienated, angry, broken people that I think it attracts. But that in mind, it was everything I wanted and more. I mean, I wouldn't change a thing unless I could make it not exist. I have to say though, Lauren was indeed the Leti Riefenstahl of Generation Identity. I mean, that is some grade A horrible propaganda radicalization bait right there. So by the way, that video was titled Generation Identity, Europe's Youth Reconquista, a reference to the 700-year-long period in which Christians battled to expel Muslims from Europe, which GI would very much like to repeat. Their lambda symbol, the Greek letter L, refers to the Thermopylae, I have to be saying that wrong, the Thermopylae battle? Look, it's a battle, okay? And an often highly mythologized one at that, like in 300, in which, well, 300 Chippendales dancers, I mean Spartans, fought against Persian invaders. And I guess I'll throw in that this symbol, Deus Vult, is a rallying cry from the Crusades. Like this, it's very much a dog whistle. Basically a way of saying, hey, we need another one of those crusades to get rid of the Muslims. And by the way, Lauren had her very own Deus Vult clothing shop with her 14 words reciting rebel media buddy, Faith Goldie.
The only way that we're gonna get Bethlehem back is if we launch the next crusade. So I think that we have to, yeah, Deus Vult.
So it's probably not a huge shock, but had several key crusade battle dates inscribed on his weapons. He was obsessed with it. You really have to ask yourself, when one is continually pumping out narratives like this.
It is a battle for Western culture and Western civilization.
That are facing now, in fact, their end, their extinction.
What many initially thought was an easy to respond to humanitarian crisis has now turned into a battle for the European identity and for its physical survival as well.
When you're saying stuff like that all the time, invoking symbols like these, and constantly employing what are fundamentally violent terms like this in your propaganda, this is just one of many, by the way. What message are you sending? And how easily do you think cumulatively it can result in people simply taking the actions that all of it suggests? Part 5.
All right, everybody, buckle up, because I hate to say it, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's about to get real, and it's about to get current, as in, you know.
The Great Replacement is not just a conspiracy theory. So while playing League of Legends on Twitch, Lauren had this to say about Generation Identity.
And you know what, that's the thing though, is no one ever actually criticizes the group.
Okay, so we're gonna do just that. But just for the record, Lauren, they've only been criticized in countless articles, some of which you've been in. I guess you never heard about all that. Documentaries, scholarly papers, reports from the world's most respected anti-extremism groups, and more. So Lauren, what the kind of thing is that to say? I mean, again, I don't have a joke here. It's just stupid. You killed my cat, by the way. So we're only gonna hit 2 things. That's really all that's needed. And the first is this in itself. This is very much an argument against generation identity because the ideology is just woven into the DNA of the movement, and it's more than just a conspiracy theory. It's a call to action. Now, I'm going to explain, but first, one of the biggest what the f*** and oh, that's just stupid moments in this video is when Lauren first infers that her critics
make a mockery of counterterrorism
by connecting her to this tragedy. And then we get this.
What is an extremist and who is responsible for them? I have made you all a very, very simple list.
And she then goes on to give us these 3 points. It's really just quite the moment because, well, look at it. They're really, really, really vague, beyond simplistic, obvious, and dumbed down to the point where, of course, the ideas and rhetoric she spread just can't be included. And she acts as though she's done us some sort of favor by doing this. I've gone through the trouble of giving you this list that is deliberately designed for me to avoid any and all responsibility. Thank you, Lauren. That's really magnanimous of you. Now, not only is she ignoring...
It's kind of like a self-appointed watchdog, almost.
So many scholarly resources that happen to be out there that she could have consulted on the topic, which is what actually makes a mockery of counterterrorism. But there is an entire paper from the ISD Global on how this specifically is capable of inspiring extremism.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. What's even stranger is that apparently she's read it, at least long enough to determine that she's not in it. She is in this one, though. Anyhow, the paper discusses how what they call crisis narratives are an essential component of this ideology's capability of inspiring extremism. They fuel the process of self-identification with an in-group and link problems and grievances experienced by the in-group to the existence and actions of the out-groups. To be honest, I think that the majority of Lauren's early career was just one long crisis narrative. Now look, we can't get super in-depth here, so link down below if you want to read it, and you should read it, Lauren, again, if you really did read it. But yeah, they break down into 5 running types of GR crisis narratives: conspiracy, dystopia, impurity, existential threat, and apocalypse. And I bring that up because, sure, guy who's not an expert in any way, shape, or form here, but I find nearly all these narratives, not just in her 2 videos about this. Oh wait guys, update, they're heading for California now. Again, not just in this video or the video with the duck lips thumbnail, but just in general, a great deal of her work. And whether she buys that or not, doesn't really matter. Those who are far more qualified than her understand the potential that this ideology has to inspire extremism. So again, this at its heart is a call to action. Because what do you do when you're manipulated, conned, or deluded into believing that you're just a part of
a generation who refuses to fight?
When you really believe
Western Europe has totally lost their sense of national purpose and identity, and it's killing them.
When you're at that point where you say to yourself,
I'm convinced that this is the collective suicide of Western nations.
You have no real recourse inside this fiction that you've concocted in your head. You might just say,
no, we are not going to idly stand by and watch the death of our nations.
Because
if you want people to stop dying in the streets, you have to do something other than change your profile picture.
You're teaching people that, people in their community are trying to destroy them, to upend their idea of culture. I think it's almost, a logical next step that some people will choose to act on it.
Now, Lauren has a truly hot garbage take on why statements like that are hot garbage takes.
The head of Weather Underground, William Ayers, ran a campaign of terror attacks. He donated $200 to Barack Obama's campaign. This does not make Barack Obama a terrorist. If someone is guilty of inspiring a shooting because the shooter was a fan of or consumed their content, if we take this idea to its logical conclusion, almost every single person with a political opinion on the planet is going to be responsible for terrorism.
Okay, Okay, there's just so much to unpack there. It basically boils down to an argument where political rhetoric doesn't have the power to inspire people to commit acts like this. And there's so much that I want to say, but it doesn't really matter because you know what? We know that she doesn't actually believe this.
The degree of how dangerous said misinformation matters. Like in Canada, the mainstream misinformation that there was a and mass graves discovered in Canada, which is causing churches to be burned down. Like, I'd say that's objectively very dangerous misinformation.
Lauren, that is you acknowledging that what, according to you, is misinformation has dangerous potential.
Holy shit.
Yes, indeed. Holy shit. Now look guys, I'm not an expert on that Canadian church stuff, but have a look at this awesome vid, and there's actually a debunking Lauren's avalanche of...
Whoa, thanks for the shout out, Vadim. Thank you. I think people should keep incredibly calm, raising her Western civilization comments on conversation in video form until she eventually is forced to either denounce or defend, force her to choose her true beliefs. I'm going to be honest. This video, which I recommend that everyone should be sharing now far and wide, both help out Vadim because this video is not going to be favorably viewed in the algorithm. It's just loaded with everything that YouTube has been programmed and trained to watch out for, such as, you know, discussions of identitarian movements, discussions of Great Replacement theory, white genocide theory, all that kind of stuff, the alt-right. There's a lot of reasons why this video is probably going to get buried. So please, if you have an opportunity, share it. But also, it is such an incredible cataloging of all these events to the degree, like, I am very, very online. And I spent the first, like, half of Serf's career doing very deep dives into alt-right radicalization, the YouTube pipeline, all that kind of stuff. And some of these things were even new to me. Like, I had no idea the extent of, like, I guess you want to call it a rabbit hole. I mean, it's more like a shithole.
Playlist below featuring all these excellent creators. Check them all out and subscribe. Everyone is indeed a banger. All right, guys, we got Cortez in the house. Meet me in 13.7 seconds for part 6.
Oh, yeah.
I got hey, your mom joke. Your mom
I totally forgot about that. Oh, I'm incredibly immature, but like that is a very like I can't tell. Is that an impersonation of Destiny or is that from a different Destiny clip or something? That's amazing.
I got hey, your mom joke. Your mom joke.
So, remigration, also known as repatriation, we're going to break that down in a moment, but just so you know, like this
nice,
is
Scooby.
absolutely a core component of identitarian ideology, and it's nothing short of dysfunctionally stupid and dangerous.
The concept of remigration is crazy. It would mean deporting thousands and thousands of people to countries which are supposedly their countries of origin, because their ancestors might have lived there, or because the color of their skin, or their...
To be honest, as someone who doesn't really, I don't know, hang around in alt-light and alt-righty circles, I hadn't even heard of the concept of remigration. I was like, wait, you're advocating for anyone who's an immigrant to a country to have to return to their country. Like, how far back does that go? Do you have to trace, like, what about the children of the parents who immigrated over here? Do they have to return as well? Like, this seems like not only something that is incredibly xenophobic and bizarre, but also just practically impossible.
culture are associated with countries which are not France.
Yeah, we're essentially talking about developing white ethno-states here. Remember the whole peaceful ethnic cleansing discussions that irrational alt-right idiots were having back in 2017?
But yeah, I do think that something like re-immigration is certainly possible and that it could be done ethically, like allowing African Americans to create a new state, say giving them, I don't know, all of Florida.
It's called repatriation. I've heard of repatriation for sure.
Why didn't that become a bigger meme? But yeah, same basic thing, acting as though uprooting and forcibly deporting an entire culture or race would somehow lead to anything but a bloodbath. It's that.
La remigration, c'est quoi? C'est qu'une grande partie, ou la quasi-totalité des extra-européens qui sont en France, en Europe, retournent dans leur pays d'origine, en bateau, en avion ou en soucoupe volante. Ils repartent chez eux comme ils veulent.
Side note, when I found this clip, suddenly this generation identity banner made a whole lot more sense. Now, of course, this all corresponds to... This was very much his goal. It's what he was trying to achieve. Basically, remigration is Generation Identity's final solution.
Diesen Leuten muss ich auch glasklar sagen, die einzige wahre Grenzsicherung ist Remigration.
And the actions it eventually took, well, that was his way of speeding up the process. So in this video we saw from earlier, Lauren makes the group seem cool and fun, doing boxing stuff at their Diet Nazi Fight Club. But before that, she speaks with this man, Jean-David Catin.
Les gens ressentent un sentiment de dépossession identitaire. Et ça, c'est un sentiment extrêmement violent.
And he wrote the book on remigration. Like, literally, there's a book, and he wrote it. Anyhow, in clips like this, where Sellner gives a 30-second pitch on what remigration is, they leave out a great deal of the details that would result in the insane human rights cluster their policies would necessitate. And of course they do, 'cause optics. But don't be fooled. What this guy said is 100% true. This is the imaginary crisis that fuels identitarian groups' existence, and
there is only one solution: remigration.
So there you go, Lauren. Two, I believe, pretty solid arguments against the group, and then of course there's probably a dozen more in this video, but you know that by now. And hey, if you guys are all wondering, did Lauren know about that whole remigration thing? Well, there's this clip right here. By the way, the audio is like broken. I did not mess with it, but you can listen to this clip where she sounds like she swallowed a tank of nitrous oxide and judge for yourself.
Say tomorrow Europe changes its position 180 degrees. What hope is there for assimilation of these people who are already there?
Oh man, we're at the point, I think, honestly, in places like France where Camus' remigration idea is like one of the only things they have left.
Part next. Hey, let's take a break.
Oh, nice.
So, hey guys, before the last chapter, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all the awesome people who support my work.
I normally skip past people's like ads or, you know, promotions in their videos, but as someone who was like working with Vadim behind the scenes on this project, I gotta say, he put so much work into this. There is an unbelievable amount of research, not just the fact that he found all these old clips, that he's pieced them all together, that he's found, and like, again, I have no idea how he finds the ones that are just deleted permanently off all corners of the internet to try and like erase any kind of trace of this kind of history, but also thoroughly reading so many different documents, finding the quotes that are necessary, tabulating them, getting the numbers, all that kind of stuff. I could not stress enough that doing all of this requires, like, this is beyond a full-time job. This is not just creative editing, thinking of jokes, writing it, but the amount of research that went into this project. It is absolutely incredible. I would please ask any of you, if you haven't already, go subscribe. He needs like a mere, I think, 600 or 800 new subs to finally get bumped into the 100,000 club that I think he's earned a long time ago. So please go subscribe to Vadim.
My premium patrons scrolling by. It really does take a long time to research, edit, yada yada yada, and that's
no, he does only facts. He certainly does.
Videos like this possible.
I'm sure I've got my own folder.
You guys just freaking rock. Now, maybe you noticed that over the course of this video, I went to great lengths to hopefully not get demonetized. Fingers crossed. But the video just had to be what it had to be. So that means it stands a decent chance of getting lost in the fiery pits of the YouTube algorithm. And that would be bad. The extent to which she has lied and swept this under the rug is bull, and I just want people to know. I think they should. So if you also want to keep that from happening and you want to do something super helpful, then follow me here on Twitter, and please consider retweeting my pinned tweet containing the video. It really helps get the video out there. So just big internet hugs and love for possibly doing that and being my hero.
Clean up your room.
Not just for one day, but for like at least a week and a half. Finally, of course, do all this stuff. Consider becoming my patron on Patreon. You'll get all this stuff and more. It's kinda neat. And oh my god, if you did, that would be really cool. We also have a PayPal link for one-time donations, links down below, and hey,
I just wanted to say thanks, partner.
Clean up your room.
No, that notification is going to ruin this final sequence, which is really good. Let me turn it off.
No. Individually, I don't think it's fair or realistic to pin the blame squarely on her. It takes a whole ecosystem of groups and key individuals to inspire acts like that. More than I can possibly fit in this scrolling set of pictures. But yes, she was a key player inside that ecosystem. She was
Clean up your
redwood. We can't really know. So for the most part, I leave the facts as they are, and you do what you will with them. To be fair, there's probably a decent handful of people and groups who influence them far more, but does that even matter when she pushed so many of the same ideas as others we do know influenced him along with those people? Does it even matter when we can see so many commonalities between his manifesto and her everyday discourse and work?
Hi everybody, back with our good friend Lauren Southern. She is the author of Barbarians, How the Baby Boomers, Immigration and Islam Screwed My Generation.
He called them invaders, she called them barbarians and savages. They both believed humanitarian NGOs that are dedicated to saving lives were basically ruining civilization. They both thought Mandela was a terrorist, that diversity was weakness, and immigrants just couldn't assimilate. He complained about Madonna, Michael Jackson, and Freddie Mercury. She complained about Meghan Trainor? The All About That Bass Girl? What? Anyhow, they both gushed over the Crusades. They both in their own way helped spread this theory, were obsessed and felt threatened by birth rates, thought Europe was in danger of being destroyed and the West was on its deathbed. They both hated globalists, baby boomers, immigrants, and Islam. He had the dates of key battles during the Crusades painted on his guns. She wore Deus Vult apparel from her own Deus Vult merch store. A great deal of her words are just like his on steroids. Some are indistinguishable. I mean, take a look at these two sentences. Can you tell who said what? Okay, I'm just gonna give you a second. You're gonna have to pause the rest after this. Okay? How about this? How about this? One very quick thought that I wanted to expand on in this video, but I can't because we're running out of time. So hey, here's Jose, here you go.
You can tell when someone's change is genuine based on what they do to make amends for the harm they've done. Lauren has done nothing to earn anyone's trust.
Final thoughts. So here's two curious tweets I found, and they kind of sent me down a little mental rabbit hole. In 2015, Lauren responded to this account, which I swear this is not a Photoshop. Donald Trump actually once retweeted it. Anyhow, we also have this tweet from early 2016, and in both, Lauren clearly thinks negatively of this theory. If you don't know, this is the older bastard son trailer park brother of this theory. They're basically the same thing. They just repackaged it because optics. Now, Lauren might say differently, but you know what? One of her references to this video more or less says they're interchangeable, so they're the authority. Let's not argue. So this made me realize something. Although Lauren has been of the right, at least since her early teens.
My dad used to listen to Dennis Prager all the time when he would drive me to school, and this is when I was like 13. And he'd be driving us to school, and I'd love listening to Dennis Prager.
But I think there's some sort of progression that has to occur between listening to wholesome old Dennis Prager with your dad to, say, staging friendly Pepsi commercial recreations with neo-Nazis who started the American branch of Identity Europa, coined the phrase, "You will not replace us," when he said to Shia LaBeouf, "You will not replace us with your globalism," and was jailed for pulling a gun on a man for looking Iraqi. There's a jump there. So I did some digging, and well, many know that if you look at Lauren's early Rebel Media videos, they nearly all revolve around topics like triggering feminists, safe spaces, getting kicked out of slut walks, you know, Walter Cronkite level stuff. but I decided to look at the upload dates and I realized there were barely any videos on this sort of thing. There were 2, and these aren't them. It was uncanny. It turns out that to the date of this interview she conducted with Martin Sellner on this topic, all of a sudden, there's just this tsunami of videos on immigrants, refugees, globalists, oh my. Nearly 6 months from there, we get the Duck Lips video, and 1 month after that, she has a bit of a coming out party with Stefan Molyneux.
I will say that this book was also a coming out book for me to kind of say that I kind of moved towards more conservative nationalism, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Lauren, why are you trying to get me in such trouble?
In May, she's off to France to nearly have a conniption at all the brown people she sees. 1 month after that, she punishes the world with her second video on this topic, which, if you can believe, is actually significantly less alarmist than its duck-lip predecessor.
Your borders are disappearing, your culture is disappearing, and your people are disappearing. Europe is on its deathbed.
And I mention that because, well, she's playing the game. She's learning optics. Not long after that, she's the captain of a boat, performing acts of profoundly stupid cruelty masquerading as activism with a bunch of identitarian uber dorks. And the rest is highly embarrassing history. In the end, this video has been about Lauren Southern and I don't think he's the only one in the story who became radicalized. Take care of yourself, hug your cats, and good night.
Oh, wow. Vadim, great work. Honestly, if you were to ask me, is that Vadim's best video, I would say his Tim Pool final video has my favorite ending, just because to tell Tim Pool I out journalismed you and then light a dumpster on fire or a little garbage can on fire in your own bedroom. I thought that was pretty metal. But in terms of just research, and it's one of those videos where I don't think, even if you are on the side of well, I genuinely think Lauren Southern's changed, or I think that perhaps people have the wrong idea about Lauren Southern, or perhaps people take her out of context, or perhaps, deluded lefties consistently talk about things they know nothing about. I don't think you can watch this video, sit through the whole thing, and then walk away with, maybe there's nothing to this, How many cats does Vadim have? I do not know how many he has. I know he's gone through several cats because he's been doing this a very long time. Wait, is your last name Serf? Yes, it's Lance Serf. That's my legal name. I have that on licenses for sure. That's definitely the family surname, Serf. Oh, the Serfs, Mr. Serf, good to see you. Oh, where's Mrs. Serf? Oh, very nice to see you too. Hey, come on, Mrs. Serf's my mother's name. So, my final push and or plug, please everybody go subscribe, thumbs up, share, I mean, it's well worth your time. Very, very well done, Vadim. It's absolutely incredible. And I do want to end by reiterating the same point that I think there should be room on the left for change. There absolutely should be. Fucking no one's an angel. God damn. Everyone's got so much wild shit in their past. Even people sometimes have wild shit in their present, and then when they have a conversation with someone who's on the left, that person is probably, if they don't say the right term or the right word, is going to use that as an opportunity to explode upon them, right? Oh, how could you refer to it this way? Didn't you know that we don't call that anymore? We call it this? Shame on you, you're a Nazi, kind of stuff like that, right? The stereotype that the right usually paints about it. But I think that there is absolutely going to be people who have come from bad backgrounds for whatever reason. I mean, there's so many different, causal reasons why someone would go towards the alt-right, why someone would believe in all this kind of propaganda, why someone would believe just outright lies rather than, genuine statistics on immigration and how it benefits society. And it can actually do wonders for your economy, to say the very least. So there should be room on the left for people who want to change, and even content creators who want to change. I know I always refer to Hunter Avallone, who by no means is perfect, but going from a conservative transphobe to a liberal person who's advocating for, trans rights is a good thing, because those 400, 500, 600,000 subs or whatever he has, it's much better that audience is not sitting there thinking that it's okay to do what they used to do back in the day. And the same thing could be said for Lauren Southern. The difference is that Lauren Southern not only doesn't acknowledge that any of this happened, but but that she actively lies to this day about much of the stuff that you just learned and heard about. And that's what makes it so very dangerous, is that she's not looking to change. She's not looking to rebrand as this new centrist or perhaps like a more moderate conservative modern day figure. She wants to hide these sides of her past, and it is about optics. It's always been about optics. A lot of these people on the right to the far right, they've learned through just years of having people yell at them, years of having people, accuse them of a whole bunch of things, years of having people reject them because they are, out and proud Nazis, that they need to change their messaging. And that was very effective, especially, in the post-Gamergate and when Pizzagate was starting to rise and QAnon and all those different movements. Richard Spencer, as well as a lot of other online figures, were like, we need to radicalize youth and bring them onto our side. We have to pill the normies. So we have to get them involved in this, but we can't do that if we just open with, what about the Jewish question? What do you think about this? What do you think about black crime rates? 1350 shit. No, that doesn't really get people on board. What does is memes and lulz and all that kind of shit on the internet, and making fun of people that they already don't like people who are accusing them of being sexist, people who are accusing video games of being sexist, people who social justice warriors, stuff like that. Okay, people already hate these groups online. We have an angle. We can appeal to that. We can appeal to this entire subculture and say that, like, hey, yeah, that's hilarious. Have you seen this Pepe? Have you seen this Pepe? This Hitler Pepe is pretty funny, eh? Let's start using these because it's really pissing off a lot of people. We're really trolling. We're trolling really good online. Look at us troll. You should come into the Discord group. Yeah, we got a Discord group. It's awesome. It's just a whole bunch of us sharing memes, talking about shit, and you really learn some things. You'll learn some important things. Like I don't know if you ever known this. Have you seen crime statistics? Has it ever bothered you why there's so many more black people in jail? Because all these liberals, they don't really have a way of explaining it, but we do. We have the answers. We got all the answers. Yeah, just come on in and let's start talking about these kind of things. And the white race is replaced with Western culture, and just like that, all of a sudden these people can talk about it. And it goes all the way up to the mainstream news, all the way up to Tucker Carlson, who nowadays reiterates a lot of these talking points. The great replacement theory, the idea that the West is under attack, that we have to preserve our culture, that these different demographics are coming into the country and they're actually going to vote for Democrats. So they'll in effect replace us being conservatives, of course. I'm not talking about the white race. And then there's other people who are just saying the quiet parts out loud when they never used to, like Charlie Kirk now. He never used to say out loud that he has to talk about the white race, but now all of a sudden he's like, you know what? Now's the time. I feel more confident about this.
This will come down to who can deliver the lower propensity and mid propensity voters.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we will build a ladder to heaven to deliver you the daily news. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are your most humble of clownish jesters. To our lords, Trevor R. and Alexander Thaler, you have our undying fealty. To our knights of the round table, Nate, that one guy, Hagbird Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariana McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Ants Are Still Running the World, Coulter Smith, Tom Groh, Val 9000, Jenna Tal, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Riley and Anna, Omni, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Chronic to Hemphog, Catherine, Radical Maniac, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Josh Mickelson, Todd Buckingham and Todd Lajeunesse. We shall meet you in the tavern, and we raise a drink, and we salute you.